Here's a question of whether one who wants to sing and act can have, as a citizen, political opinion. In attacking me, they suggested that when I was abroad, I spoke out against injustices to the Negro people in the United States. I certainly did.
Paul Robeson was one of the most gifted human beings America ever produced. He was a world-class athlete, a scholar, a lawyer, a stage and film star, a concert singer with one of the greatest bass voices ever recorded, a linguist who spoke over 20 languages, a civil rights activist decades ahead of his time. And yet, he was also one of the most punished men in American history, not for committing a crime, not for hurting anyone, but for daring to speak truth, loudly, in an era that demanded silence. This is the full story of Paul Robeson. Paul Leroy Robeson was born on April 9, 1898, in Princeton, New Jersey. His father, William Drew Robeson, had been born into slavery in North Carolina. As a young boy, he escaped bondage and eventually made his way north. Through sheer will and intellect, he became a minister and later a respected Presbyterian pastor. His mother, Maria Louisa Bustill, came from a prominent free black family in Pennsylvania. She was educated, refined, and deeply committed to education. Tragedy struck early. When Paul was just 6 years old, his mother died in a tragic household fire while attempting to rescue belongings. Her death devastated the family and left an emotional scar that followed Robeson for life. His father, already aging and worn down by racism and hardship, struggled to support the family. Eventually, the church forced him out of his position. A reminder that even faith institutions were not immune to racial prejudice, but young Paul absorbed something powerful from his parents: strength. By his teenage years, it was clear moral conviction. By his teenage years, it was clear he was exceptional. Robeson attended Somerville High School, where he quickly distinguished himself as both a scholar and athlete. When he enrolled at Rutgers University in 1915, he entered a world dominated almost entirely by white students. He faced physical abuse on the football field, isolation from teammates, open racism, intentional attempts to injure him during games. Despite this, Robeson became a legend. At Rutgers, he earned 12 varsity letters, was named All-American in football twice, graduated as class valedictorian, was inducted into Phi Beta Kappa, starred in baseball, basketball, and track. He was not merely surviving, he was excelling beyond anyone's expectations. Teammates later admitted they tried to drive him off the field. They failed. After Rutgers, Robeson enrolled at Columbia Law School while playing professional football to support himself. He graduated with honors and took a job at a prestigious law firm. But there was a problem. Despite his brilliance, white secretaries refused to take dictation from a black man. He was marginalized, ignored, humiliated. Robeson realized something profound. I could be the best lawyer in the room, and it still wouldn't matter. So he walked away from law and towards something greater. Robeson turned to acting and music. His deep, resonant bass voice was unlike anything audiences had ever heard. He began performing in theater and quickly gained attention. Breakthrough roles: The Emperor Jones, 1924, a landmark performance. All God's Children Got Wings. Othello, widely considered the greatest Othello of the 20th century. His portrayal of Othello shattered racial barriers and redefined Shakespearean performance. At the same time, his singing career exploded. His signature song, Old Man River, became world famous. But Robeson changed the lyrics over time. Where others sang with resignation, Robeson sang with defiance.
Boys, he knows all about everything. There's an old man called the Mississippi. That's the old man that I'd like to be.
Toured Europe, Africa, the Soviet Union, and what he saw changed him forever. For the first time in his life, he experienced societies where he was not judged by race. He was treated as an intellectual equal. He was celebrated as a human being. This deeply impacted him. He began studying African history, Marxist philosophy, anti-colonial movements, workers' rights. He spoke out against lynching in America, Jim Crow laws, European colonialism, Fascism, he openly supported. Labor unions, African independence movements, civil rights leaders, and he refused to apologize for it. During the Cold War, Robeson's politics made him a target. The US government labeled him a communist sympathizer, put him under FBI surveillance, revoked his passport in 1950, blacklisted him from Hollywood, cancelled his concerts, removed him from radio and television. He was summoned before the House Un-American Activities Committee. When asked why he supported oppressed people worldwide, Robeson famously replied, "Because I'm a Negro. Because I know what it feels like to be oppressed." His income collapsed. His health suffered. His career was destroyed. Yet he refused to recant. For nearly a decade, Robeson was unable to leave the United States. When his passport was finally restored in 1958, he returned to international stages, but the damage was irreversible. Years of surveillance, stress, and isolation took their toll. He suffered depression, physical exhaustion, emotional withdrawal. By the 1960s, he largely withdrew from public life, once the most powerful voice in the world, now nearly forgotten by the country he loved. Paul Robeson died on January 23, 1976, at the age of 77. He was buried at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York, not far from his birthplace in New Jersey. There were no national honors, no state funeral, no grand recognition, just quiet. Today, Paul Robeson is remembered as one of the greatest singers in history, a civil rights pioneer, a fearless activist, a man who sacrificed fame for principle. His voice still echoes in civil rights movements, protest songs, cultural resistance, artistic freedom. He once said, "The artist must take sides. He must elect to fight for freedom or for slavery." Paul Robeson chose freedom, and he paid the price for it. Paul Robeson once said, "The artist must take sides. He must elect to fight for freedom or for slavery." And that choice defined his entire life. He was born into a world that told him to stay silent. He rose in a country that tried to break him. And when he finally found his voice, a voice powerful enough to move nations, they tried to take it away. They stripped him of his career. They erased him from screens and stages. They followed him, watched him, isolated him. Not because he was dangerous, but because he was honest. Paul Robeson could have chosen comfort. He could have chosen fame. He could have chosen silence. Instead, he chose truth. He chose to stand with the oppressed, with workers, with the voiceless, with people who had no microphone of their own. And for that, he paid dearly. In his final years, the applause faded. The crowds disappeared. The world moved on. But history has a way of correcting itself. Because today, we know something they tried to bury. That Paul Robeson was not a traitor. He was not a radical. He was not a threat. He was a man who loved humanity more than he feared punishment. A man who believed that art should lift people up. That a voice should be used. And that silence in the face of injustice is its own kind of crime. And now, here he rests, not in grandeur, not in spectacle, but in quiet dignity. A reminder that some voices never truly fade. They echo through time, through struggle, through those brave enough to listen. And as long as we remember his words, as long as we tell his story, Paul Robeson still speaks. This is Tales from the Tombs, NJ, and thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to get notifications when we post another video.